Roxanne, thanks for being here. Have an opening statement.
Thank you. My name's Roxanne Horvath, and I'm running for City Commission seat 1. And I've been asked why I'm running for this seat, and my answer is I've spent probably a third of my life being educated, another third building my career, and the last third I'm anticipating spending more time giving back to the community. I didn't grow up here. I am from a military family. My father was Air Force. We traveled a lot, and I have chosen St. Augustine to live in for the rest of my life. I think it's a very unique city. I feel very fortunate to have found it, and I really enjoy living here. I've served on many of our boards for the city, planning and zoning. For 7 years, I chaired that. HARB, which is Historical Architectural Review Board, I chaired that board. Code Enforcement, chaired that board, and also the Entry Corridor Board I chaired. And those were good training grounds for stepping up and running for City Commission. I think a lot of what you face at that board level really prepares you for some of the hard decisions that the commissioners need to make. And I've spent over 20 years building my practice of architecture here in the city. I moved down from Boston and worked for the city for a couple of years, meeting people, and then I decided to open up my firm, and I've been very lucky to have great commissions, both historical preservation work, some new construction for county, city, and also building within the historic zones, so that I needed to keep mass and scale and all the requirements for building within those zones. So I'm very familiar with that. I also have spent time applying for historical grants at the state level, so I'm familiar with that. I feel very, very lucky to be here, to have the time and the energy to be running, and to give a commitment of 4 years to the city. The city currently has 3 attorneys on the board and no architect, and I feel that some of the issues coming down the road would really be benefited by having an architect who deals with mass and scale, can read plans, and really do site analysis. And so that's why I'm offering my services. My main goal is to revisit the visioning plan. We did a visioning plan years ago. Some very wonderful people were involved in it. Mayor Baker and many Len Weeks, many people. It was a great effort, and I hope we can do that again, because after that many years, we really need to relook at those issues. My motto for the campaign is our city first. And by that, I mean the concept of keeping the best interests of the city foremost in our minds and decision making. There's a lot of pressures on our city, both from all the different people using the city, the tourists, the businesses, the college, the residents, and we need to all work towards making a better St. Augustine. So that's my opening statement.
Thank you. I'll start with number 1 on your top 3 goals if elected, and that is to be actively involved with the city's 450th birthday celebration. Obviously, it's gotten a lot of press publicity, comment over the past couple of years at least. Could you talk a little bit about where you believe that process is, where you see it going, and how you think you could make a difference in that?
Well, I think it's going quite well. I mean, I understand that there was a false start at the beginning where we spent some money that perhaps some people felt we didn't get enough out of. But at this point, I've met with the city to see what they're covering, and I have a list of all the different exhibits and things that they've got in the planning stage. It looks very good. The various things we're trying to do with the VIC. I know that's a controversial issue with a lot of people, but my stand on the VIC is I look at this opportunity that we have for the 450th as kind of like the Olympics or the World's Fair, where you try to invest in something that will remain after the 450th. And the Visitors Information Center, with what we're proposing to do there, it's not just for the Picasso exhibit, although that could be a very nice way to tie in some of the Spanish culture to our 450th. That's just the start of many of the other exhibits they're hoping to show. And so I'm in support of that, spending the money towards upgrading that so that we can get a revenue stream down the road as well as currently. I'd like to see the numbers. I haven't really looked at the numbers on all of that, but I think it's a good approach. Let's see, the other things. One thing that's very important, I think, and I had hoped that we would already have it under our belt, and that is the setup of the 501c3. Now, I know they started that a few years ago. For some reason it didn't materialize. I hope that we can get some businesses to get together and develop this arm that we need in order to capture corporate sponsorship. I'm hoping that we could catch or woo Bacardi Rum or somebody like that to be a great sponsor for, some of the wine, Spanish wine companies to be a great sponsor towards some funding some of these proposed events that are for tourists, but also to culturally enhance the lives of the residents that live here. So, and how will I be a benefit to 450th? Well, being an artist, being an architect, I believe I bring skills that will be beneficial. I also, one of my strengths, I think, is working with various people, teams of people. That's what you have to do when you're an architect. You work with teams of people. A great building is never materialized by just one person. It's many, many people coming together and having a direct goal that they're trying to achieve. And I feel I bring that skill to the table. So creativity and people skills.
About the VIC issue,
Mm-hmm.
Some of the people in town and some officials under the radar are talking about that 1.4 million seems like a lot of money to upgrade the VIC for that exhibit. And they, some of the detractors say that's not even a first-class exhibit, it's a second level exhibit with just ceramics and a few things that, no paintings that people expect to see when they see a Picasso.
It won't be the paintings that are shown in major museums.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the cost of just ensuring that or getting your hands on that to show would be incredibly difficult. But it's my understanding that we have, the Picasso Museum has authenticated that these are pieces that Pablo Picasso actually has had his hands on. These are actual authentic pieces. And that was one of the questions I did ask, because I don't want it to be a second or third tier, because it won't draw the people that we need to actually support it. And I believe that John Regan was over there verifying that last week.
I didn't mean that it would be a false,
that
it wasn't authentic, but that it's not the pieces that people come to see. Some of the paintings of his wife, and he's got a huge range of things that the contract just lists all the objects in the museum, all
Right.
in
They do.
the display, but it didn't have any paintings at all, as I saw.
Yes. Well,
Not that that's required.
yes.
You think? My question was
Yes.
the $1.4 million worth it?
I'd like to see the breakdown on it. That, I would think, entails security, lots of other things, not just bringing and shipping and all of that, although there's a great expense to do that correctly, and getting it back home. So, there's those costs. But I don't know the exact breakdown on that, and I'd like to see it before I comment further.
Yeah, but you said that you believe you support the VIC changeover, so you believe there is a future
Oh, absolutely.
for that.
I do believe so. And I do believe that if we had tried to build it somewhere else, you know, say,
Yes.
you know, or take this building down and do it, God forbid we would do that, but we would spend far more than that to
Yes.
do that.
They estimated $8 million.
Oh, I could believe that for a first-rate, climate-controlled, light-controlled space. Yes, I think so.
Let me ask a follow-up to that. If the VIC becomes the St. Augustine Exhibit Hall, then what serves as the Visitor Information Center?
Well, right now, it would be both, the way they're slating it. I mean, there's a section in the plans that is the visitor information point. And then if they opt not to visit the exhibit, they go off down the road and either take a trolley or walk down to the historical sites. So I think that was an intent to keep it always, both of those things.
As an architect, what did you think of the Flagler College project that they want on Cordova Street?
You mean the most recent one?
Yes,
That's
the classroom.
under controversy?
Yes.
Well, that is a difficult question. I got to answer that one in the neighborhood get-together first, and as an architect, we have a responsibility to look at the site that the owner has and look at the program and give our best feedback to our client on their program and how it would fit the site. Ken Smith is a wonderful architect. He's done a lot of work in the city. I have a lot of respect for him. In fact, I worked for him many years ago. And but that, I believe, is too big a building, too intense a building for that particular site. I'm not opposed to having classrooms there. I realize that people say it's not zoned for that, and that's why they're going for the PUD, the planned unit development. Well, the planned unit development should, that was another question that came up, should be looked at as a case-by-case basis. It's the site, it's what the use for the site is, it's many factors that come in to make the PUD. I feel the use for a classroom there makes tremendous sense because it's only open from 8 to 5, unless maybe there might be an occasional lecture. Much better than what's zoned to be there. I mean, they could have a bar going in there, another bar with music late at night. And I asked that question at the neighborhood meeting. Doesn't it make a little more sense to have a PUD, not necessarily that particular intensity, but to be able to allow classrooms in that space? Because I think it's a pretty good mix, but it's just perhaps not the site for that large a classroom complex.
Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit. The other controversy that's been going on for a couple of years is the Gallimore Center and the pool.
Yes.
And of course, that's right in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And the latest plan is to develop a CRA for Lincolnville, and but make the pool project move forward in the coming budget. So it would be the discussions this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's two parts. What's your feeling about the Gallimore pool? Should it be restored? And number two would be your feelings about a CRA for Lincolnville.
Well, the first part of that question, the pool, as I understand it from the research I've done, it's going to take quite a bit to renovate and bring back. I mean, there's all kinds of codes now that were not in existence when it was first put in, you know, specialty kinds of drains that don't allow people to get sucked down into them and various things. So it'll be costly, but I think it's not a bad investment. I'm more worried about the maintenance and the cost of keeping it running year after year after year. Now, I think that was the thinking of maybe Nancy Sykes-Klein as well, when she suggested the CRA for Lincolnville. I mean, I'm guessing that's what she's thinking. I have spoken with her briefly, and she's hoping that some of the CRA money can be used for the either renovation or the upkeep. And I think there's a question on not whether a CRA will allow for that, and that's why the study comes to be so important. I think the study for that is a good idea. The way I feel about studies is if you've got somebody to champion the study after the study's done, so it doesn't become a binder on the shelf, that it really becomes something active and money generating, and then I think it's a very good idea. And as I understand it, it does better with commercial property development. So if we did something with the M&M Market, or we did something with some other locations that can have commercial, then they would add more money than, say, the residential. So I'm in support of that.
Support of that for that area. I know one thing at City Hall that I was told last week is that the pool would probably not qualify, but if there was an addition to the center, because those are already encumbered projects, so to speak.
Right.
But that one of the good things about the study you did bring up is the idea of looking at what it can be used for, and it will promote interest in more development when the market turns around.
Absolutely.
Or the economy.
And speaking about the market turning around, I was meeting with Mark at the Building and Zoning Area Department, and in the last couple of weeks we've had like 12 building permits for residential. So I mean, maybe it is turning around. I'm hopeful that. And another thing about this unique city is it's so unique that I think the deflation that we've had in our property values, our homes, they're bound to come back faster than anywhere else in Florida. And Florida's done better than some places. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see more money coming in under that in the near future, I'm hoping. So I'm very positive thinker that way.
You mentioned M&M. That's been a topic.
It has been.
With everyone who's involved in the city. And not to ask what your opinion, should they did it, should they not have bought it, but that was a city commission vote. Mm-hmm. But in your profession, so what realistically do you think can be a positive result with that piece of property? In other words, how in the world does the city get out of this now? How is that possible, do you see?
You have some good questions. Tough questions.
Thank you.
Well, I understand why it was bought, and it probably needed to be bought. It seemed like a lot of money for that structure, because I understand it's in pretty bad shape. It does have some historical value. I was brainstorming the other day, just trying to think of what maybe could be done with it. And
I was say, that's right up your alley, right?
It is. It needs to be something that's supportive of certainly Lincolnville. And I think, it's not a huge, it's a residential scale. Something like a daycare or a preschool or something like that, I think it would lend itself pretty well, because there's a drop-off zone for parents, there's the backyard that could be a play area. Maybe the people that take it on could have a residence upstairs, and it could be a mom and pop's kind of thing. It's a little expensive.
Have you been in it?
I have not been in it, but I've seen it from the outside, the exit stairs and bad repair, and there'll be quite a bit of money to pull it together. But if you drive around Lincolnville, which I do quite a bit, there's a lot of houses on Martin Luther King that are getting facelifts, and you would look at them and think, oh my goodness, I don't know if I won't have enough love in my heart to do that, but they do. They take them on and they're looking much better.
Yeah.
So.
I've been in it.
I knew you had it too.
And it's like,
It's been a lot of, it needs a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
These are
Yes.
I mean, the question really, in my mind, is at the price the city paid for it, can anyone afford to buy that? And the city get their money back and then renovate it and then make a go of it? That's a difficult question. I don't know the answer to it. I thought maybe you had some insight to that.
Magic words.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Maybe one. Let's see. I was about to be. Let's talk a little bit about the needs, and it dovetails to me in my mind back into the question that we talk about, which is $300,000 for M&M, $1.4 million for the VIC, when the city obviously has a long list of needs. Crumbling infrastructure, street drainage, utilities. You had mentioned that you were on the entry corridor board chair. Holy moly, we all know that needs a lot.
Yeah.
So how, from your perspective, should the city commission be looking at these things and prioritizing? What goes, what doesn't go? What is your view on that process?
Well, I'd have to hopefully be a little more versed in it. I'm aware of some.
I don't know you have all the answers, but
Yeah.
I'm just curious as your views with all the things that are facing, the needs that are facing the city. The question really arises in conversations that we have with folks, or that I still got brown water on the island or on the South Shores. Why are we spending this money for a market that we can't sell? That type of thing.
I see it, yeah. I was surprised when they bought it, but I have come to understand why, and I really think it needed to happen. So if I had been on the board, I probably would have come to that conclusion. It's difficult. It's always difficult to spend money, and it seems like a lot of money, but it's an investment too. You're investing in cleaning up the drug problem, and hopefully we can find the fit with a developer that'll come in and use it at some time. But you have to act when the problem is there. So, and I have talked to Martha Graham about all the infrastructure issues. We do have a lot of rusty pipes underground, and they all need work. But I'm hopeful that the San Sebastian project maybe get going. We'll get that back online. We can get some revenue there. There's the park down at the end of Riberia Street that could be well, we've got the horse thing there, but that'd have to be relocated maybe within the same zone. It could be interesting and keep a portion of it for a park. I think there was somebody that was looking at another part of it that could possibly be revenue producing. This is just talking to staff, kind of getting their ideas of what's happening. I can't speak specifically who these people are, but it's hopeful. I mean, I'm hopeful that we will get some of these things online as the economy starts picking up, and we will then be able to put more money into our infrastructure.
I'll stay on this track. So with that said, within the next 2 to 3 years, we got all these major celebrations coming with the 450 that, in your opinion, is going quite well, is on track. So are there infrastructure needs that need to be done before that takes place, do you think?
Well, we're doing the seawall, which is not really infrastructure, but it will help us, and also the breakwater for the marina, which will help us in case of a Category 1, certainly help our flooding and all of that. I think that's very helpful. But in terms of specifics, I know there was the question about the infrastructure under King Street there, and that got put on hold, and I can understand that. But I don't know of any specific real big problem other than, there's always areas that we need to work. And I was thinking, well, yes, the commissioners, people ask me, well, what district are you part of that I need to vote for? I said, all 5 of us care about the whole city. So we really need to look at West King, we need to look at Lincolnville, we need to look at Davis Shores. the Model Land Company, the Abbott Track, Nelmore area, North City. I mean, they all have their specific issues. And I'm so happy to be looking at commission position now because our neighborhood groups are getting so strong. And they're the ones that really see their problems up front and personal. They're the beacons that we'll be looking to for helping us define what the problems are that we can really jump on and get fixed. And this opportunity that we have for the 450th is so unique. I mean, it's going to bring people in from Europe, and I was just meeting this morning with the Huddle group that are bringing people out to the Renaissance in January for 700 people that they put together these tourist packages, and they're going to be reaching all into Europe and various places, Japan probably, who knows, and locally certainly, for special packages that will tell our story and get people to really partake. But they're promoting beaches and golf and things too, so it's not just our history, but I think it's very exciting to be thinking about doing this right now.
When you talk about the vision, and yes, I remember that vision that Greg Baker launched and Joe Gordy chaired the,
Right.
I believe that's the same one,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. What, and you've reviewed it because you've been here that long, more than that. What do you think is missing from our vision right now? I mean, is it something we aren't really focused on that we probably should be?
When you look at the problems that are, just locally, currently, like an example would be the gas station on May Street in San Marco. It's permitted to be, it's zoned. You can have a gas station there. I don't think anybody really thought there'd be a gas station there, and I'm hoping perhaps there won't be a gas station there, because it's even if it's a nice looking building, it is so intense in that particular intersection right now, and the way that they'd have to ingress and egress from it, it's likely going to put such pressure on the Nelmar area that people are going to be driving through there to get to May Street, to go different ways, and it's just not the right location for it. Now, we may need to re-look at our zoning issues like that, and our comp plan, and how we actually really define what it is we want. And I think if we had said that, most people would say that's not the right place for a gas station. And I'm hoping we can communicate that, or somebody can communicate it to the people that are thinking about doing it, because we'd love to support them, but let's find the right location for it, because, I think it would be helpful to have a different location.
What about within the city, a grocery store?
Well, that would be wonderful. I'm happy that Stewart's is there, because I do pop over there quite frequently. But it's true. I remember when IGA or something was right down there where the Shrine Club is,
Right.
And that was long ago. But that was actually a pretty good location. But now we have Carmelo's, which carries quite a lot. It's a little expanded convenience store. So in a pinch you can get there. But it's not a bad idea to think about that. And again, maybe that's the M&M at a small scale. I don't know. It could be.
Because it's already commercial.
300,000 to get started, plus renovations into a store. That's you have to sell a lot of groceries.
Oh, I know. I would think a lot of groceries, yes.
It has that commercial zoning though, that's what
Right,
I see you're
right.
thinking of. Okay. You mentioned underutilized city properties. Have you got some in mind that
Well, I'm thinking M&M. I'm thinking the one on the end of Riberia, which is part park and could be part, business. There are, I was thinking San Sebastian, although it's back in the bank's hands. We used to own it long ago.
Right.
And, but, underutilized, and I think the city might be very helpful in getting that back in built out. I mean, you could definitely use that.
And then the vacant lot where the gas line,
Yes.
Atlanta gas line, that's still
Yes.
in
Yes.
city hands,
I
right?
think so. Which,
Yeah, I
what's
think
Atlanta
it-
gas
I think it
line,
was purchased by the purchaser, but he
Oh, was
defaulted.
it?
Now the bank has it back.
so the bank has that as well as the main part
I
of
think it might be
Sebastian
years before that.
Inland Harbor,
that
okay.
happens.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
But that park at the end of Iberia does sound like a good idea.
I think it could be a
Could
very
be a place just to sit and look at the ocean
Well, it's a
or the river.
panoramic view. I
you
mean,
mean
it's,
where the dumping was?
yeah,
Yes.
but they've encapsulated everything, so
Right,
it would be a
yeah.
safe location.
Put a little restroom,
Beautiful,
little
yeah.
restroom place out there and.
Well, you know, at one time there was a plan to do trails
Oh,
and,
never heard about that.
well, it rose and dropped
Hmm.
because the neighborhood got concerned about the condition
I see.
of the soil, even though the city did say we've taken all the precautions, so. But I'm thinking places like that, maybe, I don't know what we do with the parking garage facility, the historic area parking garage, actually,
Right, right.
facility. In terms of use, you know, they have vendors now that just
Oh, yes.
show up.
Right, right.
And, you know, what's your thought on that property? Obviously, when they first talked about that garage, they were gonna have little stores or
Mhm.
space for kiosks, so what would,
I think it's a good idea because it takes the pressure off of the plaza, which, remember, I don't know if you remember years ago what kind of condition that was in
Flea
terms of
market.
yeah,
it was
flea market.
terrible. Well, not only what they were selling, it was just the wear and tear on the
Right, exactly.
grounds and everything. So I think it is a very good idea of that location because people coming in their cars and parking and going to the visitor information center then can go right through them and get downtown. And so it's a win for them, the vendors, and it's a win for the city because it kind of contains them into one location. And it seems fair to me. I'd love to see if we could somehow make it more in keeping with, you know, our historical heritage, you know, selection of who's actually there. But I know that's a can of worms because we've been down there already.
Yes.
But
Content.
yes,
Neutral.
content. I know.
Yeah, right.
A lot of discussion of the Civil Rights Museum, and now there are upwards of 3
I know.
different various entities that want to pull this off, want to do it. Can the city do 3? Should there be 3? Can
No.
there be 3?
I don't think so. I think I don't believe there 3 are in order, but I
How
think
about 2?
I would hope that it would be 1, and that we could, you know, find the correct place for it. And it's going to take quite a lot of fundraising to get that thing off the ground. I don't know how well attended the little museum is now. It wasn't all that well attended, you know, that I could see, but it, you know, maybe you need something a little more substantial. But 1 should be fine, and I'm in support of doing something in that direction, definitely.
Okay, Tim, tell me about all this talk about the reserves. Whenever we hear something that's coming out of reserves, like we're gonna take funding for the VIC, Picasso, out of reserves. We're gonna do 450th out of reserves. I mean,
Well,
what happens to your reserves
they dwindle if
every
you
time you keep doing it? So,
But
as a city commissioner, what would be your position on?
again, well, to get the pressure off of the reserves from the 450 is that we have to get that 501c3, number 1. That should have been here 2 years ago. I mean, in my opinion, I just don't know why we don't quite have it yet. But I would think that we need to get that set. Reserves, again, when we start getting more property values going up and we start getting more building permits done. There's a house right down from my house that's under construction right now. So,
I know where that is.
yes, so it's encouraging that things are happening and they're coming back on line, which will make more taxes, which then will have more reserves, and so.
I always got more.
Endless.
Yeah, unfortunately. What's your opinion on the FSDB and the eminent domain issue that the city went through? What was your opinion of that process? Had you been on the commission, what would have been your position?
I would have agreed that what they ended up with was a good thing. I mean, I think that there were just so many pressures on that neighborhood, and really, I wish that they would look at the campus itself. I mean, I'm sure they have a master plan, but there might be a way to look at that campus and find some creative ways to use the property they currently have, rather than trying to expand out.
They do have a master plan, they just won't let you see it.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking.
well, maybe as a commissioner, they might.
Well, it should be public record.
It should be, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably
It's supposed
is,
to be,
if
yeah.
you wanted to knock on the
I know
door.
people that have requested it several times and nothing.
But apparently that does illustrate what a neighborhood can do when it's
Yes.
mobilized. Millmore Terrace has fought the school, then it's got to fight this gas station.
It's
And then
unending
the
for them.
people over on Cordova Street are fighting that Flagler College classroom building. It looks like an organized neighborhood is a stronger unit than
It
just a
is.
few people around.
It's fantastic what they're doing. I mean,
So
I
that-
remember,
I'm sorry, my question was that when George Gardner was
Uh-huh.
there, he started the neighborhood
I know.
groups.
I know.
And since that time, I haven't heard too much about that at all. I mean, did they disband?
Oh, no, they're still pretty
Not the
strong.
groups, but the city connection, liaison to those groups, used to be here.
Mhm.
Uh,
The job one,
What's her name was there?
Kathy, she
Kathy.
retired in the job one.
Mhm. Well,
Gentlemen.
that again is part of
Yeah.
their shrinking their staff.
That's
So
right,
when
that's right.
things start picking up again, I think they've reduced like between a quarter and a third of the positions, you know, to bring it, they're at their lean and mean weight right
That's
now.
right.
So if the permitting starts picking up, then there'll need to be probably a little more staff added there, because, you know, there's more demands on them. But, you know, they seem to be functioning well now.
I think everybody was encouraged by their example in Millmore Terrace, and they organized neighbor to neighbor to
Oh,
neighbor.
it's with the
It's very
social
close.
media now, oh, it's fantastic how people can get the word around, and I'm just hoping we can get one of those flash things to get people to vote for me. Send them all to the polls.
Flash mob?
Yeah, flash mob.
Yeah.
I'll go there.
All right, my last question, I'll shut up. There has been discussion, at least since I've been here, about the city's relationship with downtown businesses, lack of communication, yada, 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 those types of issues, that it's not necessarily a great place to do business. Do you have a view on that, or what do you think?
I really haven't heard that.
Okay.
I know.
Lack of
that-
communication was a bigger issue, talking about King Street being done, no notice served to the businesses.
Oh, that, yes, I did
uh,
hear that. You're right, that's true. They kind of jumped on that and we're gonna get it done without communicating. But, you know, I mean, I'm thinking back to when the performers were on the street and, you know,
Oh,
they
yeah.
were talking back and they were definitely communicating their dislike of that and getting response from the city. I think we had a lot of, and then the homeless issue, you know, with panhandlers and people sleeping in the park. I mean, they resolved that by, you know, reserving beds at the St. Francis House, which kind of requires them either to be there or be out of the city. So,
Right.
but I think it would be great if we could have somebody in a position that could, you know, dedicate themselves to fending off and listening to the various concerns and helping the commission resolve some of those things.
Okay. said that was my last question, so you guys.
Any comments about the historical preservation that's going on? I see a lot of neighborhoods are being pushed, you know, by incoming things that want to build new or renovate history. Not a lot of it, but I see it a trend. The
Right.
city's just growing and more attractive. It brings people in, so new businesses are sprouting up. Is there anything that needs particular protection besides Echo House?
Yeah, there's that. Well, let's see. Part of the problem is that people are spending so much money for the property to build on, then they want to put quite a bit on the property to make it justify what they're spending. But with property values down a little bit, maybe that works in our favor a little bit, so less has to go on it.
Good point.
But there's always going to be those pressures. I feel very lucky to have worked on the projects I did within HP3. I mean, basically, we were the design architects for the Monson, which is Hilton. Jerry Dixon was the architect of record, and he hired us to do the design work, and very happy with the way that turned out. Also, I did a little gallery down on Charlotte Street that is close to the northern end, and it's 40 Charlotte it is, and it was a vacant lot, so something burned down, and we built a gallery and a residence there, and it was, I have people come to me still today going, nice renovation. I said, there was nothing there. You know, it was really within the second period Spanish, and it's very important to build within that fabric, within, you know, relate to the buildings that are around it, and so if people are coming in, we need to be vigilant and look at it. But you know, in the defense of the people that are trying to build, we need to give very clear, very strong direction when they come to our boards. An opinion of appropriateness always has sounded to me, oh, it's just an opinion. Well, that is so important because it sets the tone, it sets everything on proceeding. And so maybe we need to just be a little more clear at those different steps of review, stronger communication there, so that the architect and client can go back and the last thing that just is before us, or before the city, with the Flagler project for the classrooms, in defense of Hart, I mean, they did reduce the height, and they did reduce the width, and they did do some things that really, I think, improved the building. So I think we need to look at case-by-case projects that come before us, and give our support to the boards that are working for the commissioners, for the city, and you know, hopefully they can, you know, help communicate to the clients to bring these back in scale.
Thank you.
Margaret?
Oh my goodness, yay!
Okay.
Yeah, and you get to have your
last
closing
way.
remarks, Roxanne.
Oh.
We appreciate you being here, and you get to close the meeting.
Okay, well, thank you so much. This wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
That's good.
I hope that I'll have an opportunity to communicate, even through this and many other places, that I do think that the architect, or myself as an architect, brings unique experience and job skills that would benefit the city. I completely understand, you know, the efficient use of resources for the most positive results. And, you know, I dealt in business, as I said, for over 20 years with my office, and I know budgets, and I know how to work with people, and how to, you know, listen. I mean, that, if I were to say one of my strong attributes is I really do listen. When a client comes to me, I sit down and really hear what it is they want, what they dream their house can be, and then I try to make that happen. And I think that is something that we need to do as commissioners, and I hope that I can impress people to come to the polls on the 14th of August and vote. And I thank you so much for the time. I really enjoyed meeting you again and doing this.
Thank you, Roxanne.